What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I'm basically starting off where we finished off in last video, where we tore down the whole mini drift quad and got her all painted up finally, and just paint the frame for the most part for right now. So if you haven't seen that video, I suggest you go back and watch it, watch us tear it down, get her prepped up for the most part, do what we need to finish up the frame. Like, I think we welded in a couple of the seat mounts and then finished up some welds on the bottom of the seat plate, and then hung it up, got it all painted up, and it came out pretty dang decent. I definitely was just tired of grinding it after a while, so there's a few spots that aren't really the best, but it looks good. It looks good in videos. That's all that really matters for right now. And I already know this thing's gonna get beat to hell, so it don't really matter to a point. But she's looking good for now, so now we can finally start finishing up all the other stuff. So we really need to get all the kind of accessories all painted up as well. So I plan on painting the swing arm, both of the front suspension area, like the control arms and the hubs. I gotta paint this little foot section. I want to paint the steering as well, handlebars. I think I'm gonna leave the gas tank, that should be fine, and the handlebar riser. So really not too much, but decent amount of work, and then get that all painted up and hopefully start installing it and getting this thing 100% finished up in this video. That's the goal. So I really want to get this thing all back together. We got a couple days of work on it, so I don't think it should be too bad. I think today we can get all the control arms pretty much prepped. I think I can start painting the steering shaft and the handlebars just because they're super easy. Get some paint laid on those, and then once those are pretty much dry, we can actually start installing a lot of the bits, since we already got the engine all painted up in a couple videos ago. So that's all ready to go. We just got to install that back onto the frame, and the frame's all dry now, so we can actually start installing most of the bits back on. Gas tank, engine. We can get the seat on there finally for its final time and actually bolt it on for once. But other than that, we just got to get the rest of the bits all painted up in a nice gloss black and get that all finished up. And I might even paint the wheels up as well if I got some time. I got some paint sitting up on the Miata over there, so that's kind of sitting in the heat, warming up a little bit. So let's get to work on this. I'm going to start tearing down the swing arm off the rear axle, and then I want to pull both of the control arms off the front end and pull all the wheels off, get those off to the side, and then see what else we can get knocked out. So you might be able to tell, got a lot of this knocked out. So I ended up taking apart the whole front assembly, got both of the control arms for each side all knocked out, just kind of laid out. And then I got the front brake hubs and spindle all still put together. I think I'm just gonna lay a nice little black coat of paint on these for now, just to freshen them up. And then later on, we'll probably take them off and clean them up a little bit more. I think I wanna do some new pads in there eventually. But got all the tires pulled off as well, got the swing arm pulled off for the rear axle, and that's all looking good. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up painting this at all, because I did notice that you might be able to hear it. It's kind of hard to hear, but the axles have a little bit of play, or the bearings have a little bit of play in the axle. So I really want to get that kind of switched out and get some new bearings put in there eventually, and then we can take that all apart, paint it up all separately, and make that look real nice. But I might spray a nice coat of just black paint on the bearing carrier right here, just to kind of freshen it up, make it look good in the meantime. But for now, I started sanding up the steering shaft, and I got the handlebars out there all sanded up. I just gotta wash them all off, and then we can start laying some paint on those in the meantime, get those kind of knocked out, get those drying, and then we can start working on the other things. I need to sand down all the control arms and the swing arm, and then I want to start working on this piece. So my plan with the little kind of section where you put your feet on, it has this connecting bar right in here. I want to chop it out right past these little kind of tabs where it actually bolts onto the frame, so then I'll have bolt spots on each side, and then they'll kind of be like their own two separate pieces. Because if I leave this on there, it'll be the lowest point on the frame, and that really gets smacked on the ground a lot. So it'll kind of help raise the frame up a little bit and give it like another inch or two of clearance. So that's kind of my plan. Chop that center section out, maybe weld on a little bit more onto these tabs, just to kind of make sure they're nice and solid, make sure this thing is gonna fall off later on or end up ripping itself off the frame. So we'll mess around with that in a little bit, but I want to get some paint laid on the steering shaft and the handlebars real quick, get those drying, maybe get the handlebar risers all painted up and the tie rods as well, because someone ended up painting those up too. So kind of just refresh those up. In the meantime, make those look good, and maybe we'll replace the ends in the future. So you never know, but let's get to work on it. What's going on, guys? So it's the next day again. As you can tell, I'm a little sweaty, so I've already been working the day. But last night, I ended up just putting the camera down and getting to work as much as possible. I ended up painting everything I could. So pretty much got everything all laid out here, just because it's already been almost 24 hours since I last painted it. So it's about dry and ready to get back installed. So I got the handlebars, steering, tie rods, and I painted the front brake assemblies and hubs. And then I got all the little components on the back of the seat here, just whatever holds that all together, just simple stuff. And then today I already started prepping a few things. I got the swing arm all prepped up, ready for paint, and then I prepped a little side steps, and as you can tell, they are not connected anymore. And I got that little bar chopped out right here. So it was just super simple. I ended up just chopping it right where it's level so I can kind of get as much ground clearance as possible. I think I was talking a little bit about it yesterday, and that came out perfectly. And then I ended up just capping these ends with a little washer, welding those all up, grinding it down. They just bolt right on here, but I thought, why not take it apart, make it a little bit easier to paint. So those all prepped up and ready to go. Swing arms ready to roll. And all we got left to really prep and paint is all the control arms for the front end. So we ain't got too much left to really get finished up. And we also have the wheels and tires, but those aren't really too bad. I just gotta run out, pick up some index cards, and I'm gonna deflate them, put them inside the wheel, and then just paint them up real quick. I'm just gonna paint the outside and leave the insides black, just because they kind of give that little cool contrast compared to the control arms and the swing arm. Have it all black when you look at it from this way, and then have nice silver wheels from the outside. That's what I'm thinking. But once we actually get the control arms all finished up and prepped for paint, and getting those all prepped up for paint and moved out of the way, we can paint those up. And then by the end of the day, I think we can start installing some of the pieces. All those pieces that are painted, we should be able to install no problem, the whole steering assembly. And then we should be able to start throwing on like the front brakes and the rear brake caliper, just kind of get that all in line. And then I was thinking maybe installing the motor, but I'm not really too sure, just because I don't want to make it a pain kind of moving this thing around if I need to. So I might just leave that off till a little bit later, but I know we can get the jack shaft in there, just get a few little pieces up in there, then start assembling it. And then hopefully by tomorrow we should be able to actually install everything completely and see this thing all done up and finished. So I'm gonna just keep getting to work. I'm gonna start painting up everything that's outside and prepped, and then start working on all the control arms for the front, get those knocked out. And then once the stuff that I already painted, I'm gonna paint just now, is finished up, we can move them, get all the control arms all painted up, and then be pretty much just waiting for everything to dry and get it all back installed on the bike. So catch you guys here in a little bit, see what we get knocked out. So you guys might be able to tell, it is currently 7:45 on Saturday night. So all day today, I just been working, kind of just sanding stuff, painting stuff, and then going back to sanding other stuff, painting that up, and just been working way through everything and got everything all painted up and finished up, and just waiting for the last stuff to pretty much dry up, which is the upper control arms, which is the last thing I was working on. But they are all painted up, just kind of sitting here, just letting them cure up a little bit longer, because since everything else had a little bit more time to dry. As you tell, I got all the little side pieces all painted up black, got the swing arm all painted, got all the little bushings that kind of go on the caps of the bolts. So got all those painted up black. You can tell I got the wheels all painted up silver, so I picked up some index cards and just put those inside the rims, painted those up. Those are looking nice. And then you guys saw earlier, got all the steering components all painted up. So we're finally able to start putting some stuff all back together. So that's kind of my thing tonight. I'm kind of a little motivated now that everything's all done and looking pretty, so we can technically put this thing all back together and have a running and driving machine again. So I think tonight I want to start off getting all the steering components all put back in, like the handlebars, the steering shaft, the tie rods, and just get all that bolted back in there, just because that had a day or two to dry already. And then we can start working on getting the rear swing arm and axle all put in. I even painted up the axle center just real quick, just to kind of give it a nice little black touch. I don't want to do any of that yet, just because I said earlier I want to replace the axle bearings and that. But other than that, we can start installing little side pieces for where your feet go, swing arm, and then if we have enough time, we could start installing the upper control arms, get all the suspension back in, install the gas tank. The engine is going to be the last thing I want to toss in here, just because that is like 40 or 50 pounds just of dead weight in the meantime. So I kind of want to just push that off to the side and leave that till last, because you don't really need it to install anything else. So I'll get that in there last, and then we can just finalize the last couple things, start it up, and take it for a rip. So that's kind of the plan. Let's see what we get knocked out tonight, and I'll catch up with you guys here in a little bit. I'll probably set you guys up on a time lapse in the corner and just get working away on this thing. What's up, guys? So it's the next day again. Sorry if the time lapse was a little spotty. I ended up doing a time lapse on TikTok on the side while I was building this thing, just because why not? I like to do those kind of randomly. So if you guys are interested in seeing those or watching those when I ever do them, I'll put my TikTok here on the screen, or it's always in the description below. And then also my Instagram. I never really talk about it, but I do post kind of just updates on what I'm doing that day. Any of the projects and kind of what to see in upcoming videos. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, go ahead and follow it and you'll see some stuff up there. But I think last we left off, we were getting the wheels all installed onto the mini drift quad and got her a complete roller, and she is looking pretty good. I think I didn't film installing the jack shaft, but I just slapped the jack shaft in there real quick. But this thing is looking hot. I am so happy with how this thing's coming out. All the paint dried up pretty nice, so I'm pretty happy about that. Everything's all bolted up nice and tight. The only thing, the axle's not tight, just because we still gotta put chains on there and tension it all up. But we're still waiting on a few parts before we can actually install the engine, which actually showed up today. So we got some more 420 chain, so we can get that all chopped out and get some new chain put on there. And I also picked up some new sprockets for the jack shaft, because I said before I wanted to convert it from a 35 chain to a 420 chain. I got both the chains laid out right here so you can tell the difference from a 35 chain to a 420 chain. We definitely needed to beef up that one. So I finally got a puller and got the clutch off the engine finally. So got me a new clutch, or really just a used clutch I had lying around. That's a 420 chain compared to the 35. So we'll get that all swapped out and get a new chain put on there from the engine to the jack shaft, and have some nice chains on here. But other than that, we're gonna get to work on this, getting the engine all installed on here, hooking everything back up, and we should be riding this thing around here in a few hours. I just need to do a little work on the engine real quick. I need to swap some jets over, so I can do that all now before there's any gas or anything in it, so I don't mess up the paint on the frame, because once you spill a little gas on some fresh paint, it'll take it right off. So that's what I'm not really trying to do. So I'm gonna do it all now while the engine's outside of the bike, make it a little bit easier, and then we can start pulling off like the intake and exhaust, getting the block all in there, getting some chains starting to slap up on it, and finally finish this thing up completely. I'll probably set you guys up on another time lapse. This one should be better since I'm just gonna be in here rocking out, doing whatever, and knocking this thing out. No more lives today. So let's get to work on this, see what we get knocked out, and hopefully be ripping around here in a little bit. So I ended up mounting up the intake and exhaust off camera real quick, just because the exhaust started giving me a pain. This is exactly why you don't chassis mount your exhaust. You'll normally just brace it to the engine, because you end up having to move your engine around a bit. So whenever I slid the engine back with the new chain setup and all that, it ended up throwing this hole off a good bit. So I ended up just tie wiring it and got her all good to go. And then I had to cut a bunch of this little heat shielding out so I can get to this little spin point and lock that in, because the exhaust started getting a little loose. But other than that, she's looking pretty good. I got the intake all bolted up, and I ended up putting it to the front before I had it looping back around and kind of under the seat here. But after a while, I kind of didn't really like that, so I wanted to move it up to the front. And I think I'm just gonna whip up a little mount on my 3D printer and just have it sit just like that real quick, nothing too crazy, and have that all bolted up, and it should look pretty good. But I am stoked with how this thing's coming out. It looks good, and she's about ready to roll. Pretty much you can just throw some gas in it and drive this thing around, but I want to hold off till we get the little mount for the intake so it's not all bouncing around and all that. And then I need to fix the little air filter or little snorkel kit adapter plate because it broke off the little valve for the crankcase. Yeah, other than that, I ain't got much really left to do. Just kind of tighten up a few things, tighten up the brakes on the front, make sure those are all good, put some air in the tires, and this thing's ready to roll. So I'm probably gonna bring this back to tomorrow when we actually have a little bit more daylight, since it's starting to get dark out now. We can actually test this thing out, rip it around a bit, and since I'm off tomorrow, it's Memorial Day, so I can have a little bit of time to film before I post this up at 12 o'clock. So catch you guys here tomorrow. We'll wrap this thing up, maybe take it for a little test drive real quick, and we'll wrap up this video. What's up, guys? It's the next day again, and last night, like 11:30 last night, I finally got the last piece printed up on the 3D printer and got it installed on the bike, and this thing is looking sweet. I am so stoked on this thing. And I also whipped up a few stickers as well, because you can't have a whole bike without a few stickers. So I whipped those up. Everything is finally done with this thing, and I am beyond stoked on it. The air filter mount came out perfectly. Got a nice little stud going into the factory gas mount, and then just kind of holds up to the filter. Got a nice little zip tie to hold it right on there. Everything looking good there. It's just barely rubbing this gas line, so I might put a little piece of tape or something in between there, just kind of save it from rubbing against each other too much. But whipped up a couple of stickers, a little one of my logo on the front, got DillPicklesPerformance on the side, a little 49cc sticker on the side of the side cover there. And she is looking good, so now we can finally toss some gas on this thing and take it for a rip. I'm probably gonna pull it outside, just get some cool cinematic shots, get some nice pictures and stuff of this thing, because this thing's probably gonna get destroyed after today. So get my pictures and stuff now while I can, while it's looking good, and then we can have some fun with it. Throw some gas in it, make sure we ain't got no leaks, make sure all the chains are good, since we just put brand new one on the engine and stuff like that. Make sure nothing's loose still. I think everything should be tight and ready to roll. So let's finally take this thing for a rip. I'll probably get some cinematic shots for you guys, and then throw you up on the little GoPro head mount, and we'll take it up and down the block real quick just to make sure she's all good, and then we'll finish off this video. What's up, guys? So it's actually like 3 days later since I last filmed on the mini drift quad. So I think the last I filmed was on Monday, and it's currently Thursday, and Monday was Memorial Day. So I was planning on trying to finish this thing up, get it 100% ready to roll so that I could take it out to a little family gathering, but I ended up running into some issues. So I think I last left off where I was gonna get some shots of this thing, which you guys saw, and then toss some gas in it, get it tuned up, and then take it for its first test drive, all done up and looking good. But we ended up running into some issues, of course, as usual. So first issue is I ended up tossing gas into it and starting it up, getting it to idle. Everything was going good so far, and then as I went to start driving it, I had no throttle above idle. It would just keep dying, whatever. Kept trying to tune the car, kept messing up. So when I did the whole conversion, really just like clean up the whole engine, refreshing everything, I did swap the carb on it to a different style. It's the same style carb, but just has a little screw on the side that has the air fuel ratio screw on it, so you can kind of tune it up a little bit better. I ended up swapping the same jet and everything, so I was thinking everything should be good, and just trying to tune with it for like a couple hours. nothing was working, so I ended up just calling it. And then after a while of it running, it ended up just starting to piss a bunch of oil out of the valve cover. So that was another fun time, cleaning all the oil off the fresh paint. Luckily, didn't really destroy anything, so we're good there. But I ended up just sucking it up, going to Amazon, ordering up a brand new carb, and then ordered up a brand new gasket for the valve cover. And so everything went pretty smooth. Got that new carb installed, and then I also installed the new valve cover. That was a little tricky since the engine's kind of pushed back there. It wasn't really too fun getting in there and getting the valve cover in and out, but was able to manage it, got it all finished up. I ended up trying to tune this new carb, was still running the same issue, and it just kept not wanting to run right, so I ended up having to pull it all back apart. I ended up just putting a bigger jet in it just to see what happened. I think I put a 93 jet in it, and it ended up working perfectly. So this thing runs mint now. It has no oil blowing out of the valve cover, so we're good there. So this thing is finally done. The only thing is once I finished it up, not even like 30 minutes later, it started downpouring, and it is wet and dark outside now, so we can't really take this thing for a ride and test drive it. And I gotta get this video edited, uploaded finally, because I've been slacking. But mini drift quad is finally done. Soon, I definitely want to take it out to another spot local in my area. Actually drift this thing around, have some fun with it, and see what we can do with it. The spot I normally go to is a little fast for this thing, since how small this thing is, so it might be a little sketchy, but we'll see what happens. Or I know a couple of good warehouse spots that this thing would be perfect at, but you never know what's going to happen, so we'll see what comes up. Soon, you guys will see this thing back. I definitely have a few plans for it in the future. I do want to get a battery put in this thing, where the battery tray is, and then I do want to install electric start on it. So that's pretty much my next kind of plan with this thing, is install electric start on it, make it a little bit more like a real ATV bike, maybe a little tachometer, say like a little plate right up here above the gas tank. So that'd be pretty nice, having a little key and stuff, but we'll see. That might be in a week or two. We got another project we're gonna start. I was actually even thinking about another project I want to start too that we might do sooner than the next one. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that all out. But that's going to be on today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed and getting this thing finally finished up, painting up all the accessories that we needed to, getting 100% finished up, installing everything, and she's ready to rip and ready to have some fun with it. So hope you guys enjoyed. I know this video was a little all over the place, but it's just kind of how it is around here. It's just me trying to hustle, and I know not a lot of people are just trying to watch me sit here sand down stuff and paint it, but it is what it is. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, hope you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content, and peace out.